Brazilian GTX. When you spell the letters GTX, people are normally used to think in a big Plymouth with a big block V8 engine. But that's not the case of the Brazilian GTX. The Brazilian GTX was released only in the 1969 model and was a sporty version of the Chrysler Esplanada. That was an extreme facelift of the Cinca Chambord after Chrysler bought the Cinca in Brazil in early '67. So the Brazilian GTX has pretty much the same color scheme than the 1969, the same year, 1969 Primo GTX. That is the lower quarter of the body in flat black, and a trim dividing the flat black from the color of the main color of the body. It has a vinyl roof. It has some chrome wheels with Chrysler of Brazil. Chrysler do Brasil as a brand is a 15-inch wheel with radial tires, factory radial tires in 1969. It has bucket seats, 4 on the floor, a sporty steering wheel, this wood finish in the door panels. Was a pretty luxury car for 1969 for Brazilian standards. But instead of having a big block V8 under the hood, you have something much more weird. It's hard to open the hood with only one hand. At least let me use the right hand. What you have here is an MS2 engine that is basically a Ford 8BA with the hemispherical heads, pretty close to what people know as the Ardon kit, but it's from factory, came from factory like this. And the name MS2 is because it's the first hemispherical chamber of combustion chambers in the South Hemisphere. The power is only 130 HP. There was a version of 140, while before Chrysler bought it from Cinca, there was the 140 and 130 MS2. That was the 2.5 and 2.4 liter, respectively. And when Chrysler purchased Cinca, they discontinued the 2.5 because the 2.5 was a little bit more problematic in terms of resistance of materials. And Chrysler was gaining time to, in October 1969, release the Brazilian Dodge Dart that replaced the Esplanada and put it to rest for good. So it's a very rare car, only 660 units produced in 4 unique colors, colors that were only available for the GTX. It was the Le Mans Red, the Indianapolis Red, Le Mans Blue, Monza Green, and the Turbine Browns. That's the one in this car. That's supposedly to be the same tone of color of the Chrysler Turbine of 1963. This is a car from the previous year. It's a early 1968 Esplanada, already built by Chrysler. And by some reason that I don't know which one is, it has the same color, it's the Turbine Browns. And this car supposedly is the very last Unity with 2 headlights. In April '68, You start to have the four headlights for the Esplanade, for the regular Esplanade. So this is an early year first phase, as we call here, a first phase 68 model. And this car already has the 53 modifications that it received after Chrysler sent the Esplanade to Detroit. And here it says, manufactured by Chrysler of Brazil. This is also a very rare car. It still has the original leather interior, was never restored. It only had the external painting, but everything inside is factory original. The smell of the leather is very particular of old cars. And this is one out of two survivors known in this color for the GTX in 1969. It's good to drive. The engine, it turns a lot. It goes to 600 RPM, but it doesn't have torque. Doesn't have much torque. It doesn't have much the feel of a V8, but it sounds very, very well. This car does not work for a while, so I'm not going to put it to work, but the sound is very nice, and I hope to show one in action in the channel in the near future. We have one of each the four colors available, and the red is somewhere over there. The bronze is here. The green, we're going to start restoration soon. And the blue, we have started restoration quite a few years ago, and we stuck it with some problems in the process, but we intend to do it together with the green. So I think that in a 2-3 years period, we're going to have the four colors together, and that would be the first time in history that there is a picture of the four colors available. Not even Chrysler made a picture of the four cars together. Let me briefly show the red one. The red was the most produced, and this is the same car, but in a cheaper version that's called the Regente. And this was still manufactured by Cinca. This car was released in February '67, and Chrysler purchased Cinca in the same month, in February '67. So the Regente was produced as a Cinca for only very, very few months or even days, because after that, Chrysler started to change the badge in the cars. First, removing Cinca. They didn't put Chrysler at first, but they removed Cinca out of the cars, and later in the year of '67, put the plate manufactured by Chrysler in Brazil. This is a very early Esplanade from '67. I think it's the car that was shown in the Brazilian Auto Show of 1966. I'm not 100% sure. This is in the Goldfinger Gold, and it has the optional of the 6-speed. 6M stands for six marches, 6M marches speed. It still has the 1/4 vinyl roof. It's from factory, and you can change here. It's a 3-speed transmission, but you can change it from road or city or hills, and then with electric disposal, the car put 3 lower speed or 3 speeds for higher 3 speeds for higher speeds. Oh, awful English, huh? The good thing on this car is that it would came from factory with a bar in the rear seat, 3 glasses with the Cinca brand, and a bottle of booze, so you can drink if the car is not going. The original one was not a whiskey bottle like this, but it was a crystal bottle with the Cinca logo. But someone took it before I got a car, and I replaced it by one in the same size. So if you need to take a drink, if the road is not very pleasant, it's not very comfortable, you can fix it. So here's the car. It's also very original. It's not as new as that one that I showed with the black leather interior, but it has this brown leather interior factory. It's still from factory, never restored. And here we have the Indianapolis Red GTX. Here you can see better what I told about the paint scheme. Just like the 1969 Primo GTX. And the center caps written Chrysler do Brasil. It's a very peculiar car. I bought this car in boxes. The previous owner wanted to restore, but didn't have place enough to a good place to park it. So he disassembled the car, put the car in boxes, and the monoblock, he just hung it in the roof of his very little repair shop, waiting that someday he would be able to restore it. You have the Pentastar here, just like the American Chryslers. Here you can turn up the distributor manually from inside the car. Yellow is for yellow, the yellow gasoline, and the blue gasoline, the gasoline with higher octanage. And if you are 100 meters over the sea level or 0, you can put the distributor. You can turn it from inside the car. A very nice Veglia tachometer. A very nice steering wheel. I like this car very much. I have an interesting story to tell about it. Although it's a very rare car, it's the car that I left the hospital when I was born. My uncle had one, Le Mans blue color. It's the first car that I ever entered. Here is the Emisu. And the Chrysler production serial number. So that's it. Very peculiar car with a very interesting story that I wanted to share. I wanted to share with you guys. That's it. Thank you.